All right, good morning, everyone. I want to thank everyone for being here today. In exactly 2 weeks, Stilton High Spire and Harrisburg school districts will start this new academic year. After painstakingly thinking about all of the risks, the health and welfare of the students, both districts have decided to start with remote learning. Many of us support this decision. It's not ideal, but it's the safest. However, the setup will not work for everyone. We are talking about parents with young students who don't have the option to telework. I've spoken to many parents that don't have a large family network to lean on, or daycare is not in their budget. Basically, their only option is for the child to stay home alone and responsible for their own learning. That's unacceptable, and that's why this project was formed. We originally called it the emergency classrooms concept, but after receiving an encouraging amount of support, we have renamed it to community classrooms. It better reflects this volunteer-based project effort, and I'm proud to stand with everyone behind me and to my side. I'm going to call up right now Mr. Peter Speaks, who is on the core team. Ms. Helen Spence is also here, and she's on the core team. He is leading the efforts in Stilton and High Spire. We're excited to offer locations there. Mr. Speaks.
Thank you, Representative Kim, for your efforts and dedication in coordinating this important undertaking. As the children prepare to return to school and again transition to a virtual setting, the vision and purpose of community schools is to say that the education and well-being of our children in the Harrisburg School District and the Stilton High Spire School District matters. And it is an imperative and a priority to ensure that children continue to learn in a safe and supportive environment during this difficult and unprecedented time. This concept of community schools is essentially to provide educational uplift and a safety net, and to affirm our children who were emotionally, psychologically, and socially isolated and traumatized by the abrupt closing of schools in March of this year, and some of whom may still be struggling and falling far behind. So we are here this morning to answer the call and to help our children and our schools in Harrisburg and Stilton High Spire, which need us more than ever in the midst of this pandemic, which is having, as we know, a disproportionate impact on communities and children of color. This is undoubtedly an important and enormous undertaking, Representative Kim, but we know that all things are possible, and we believe that these community schools with dedicated volunteers can make a difference in the lives of our children during this period. And while we are grateful for the community school partners that are here this morning, such as the Journey Church, the Whitaker Center, the Winfield Funeral Home in Stilton, and other potential partners, we are hoping that other potential partners will become a part of community schools as well, especially churches, which have played a crucial role in protecting and educating our children. And in fact, as we know, many of our great historically black colleges and universities started from church basements, one of which was Morehouse, of which I am an alumni of. I'm reminded very briefly and hurriedly of the prophetic discourse that Jesus had as recorded in the 25th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew, where he said, "When I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was a stranger, you welcomed me. When I was without clothes, you gave me something to wear. When I was sick, you looked after me. And when I was in prison, you visited." And when the crowd asked Jesus where did they see him in any of these circumstances and under any of these conditions, we know that Jesus' response was that when you have done it unto the least of these, you have done it unto me. So the question is being asked of us today is that when there was a crisis or a pandemic, and when our children were learning virtually and they had no Wi-Fi or internet connection, or their parents had to work, or they simply just needed a place to learn and to be supported, Were we there for them? Did we look out for them? But we are here gathered this morning to say that we are here for our children. We are not only our brothers and sisters' keepers, but we are also our children's keepers. And we are the guardians of our children. And we must do everything like we're doing today to ensure that they remain engaged in their education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaks, for setting the tone. As you know, we are here at the Journey Church, led by Pastor Chris Sledge. We are grateful for him for hosting today. This church reached out pretty early on to see how they can help. His spirit to serve the community is a blessing, and I'd like to bring up Pastor Sledge.
Well, I welcome you all to the Journey Church, to Dr. Samuels, the receiver, to Mr. Selmer, to the school directors, and to Patty Kim. Thank you so much for being here. Our church began about 16 months ago, and we began with a premise of how can we love and invest in our city, the very place where we are right now. And so over the last 16 months, we have continually asked questions, and we've wondered, how can we care for all people? How can we care for us? And how can we care for our youngest members in our community? And we're living in really unique times, and we can all make a decision in this time. What will we do? How will we shelter? How will we care for ourselves? How will we care for our city? And here, we are to celebrate the great work of amazing people who care deeply about our city and care deeply about our young scholars. A couple of weeks ago, I asked my leadership team here at the church and our staff, how can we invest in this moment? When I heard that Patty Kim and others were wanting to know how can we open up our building, and I said, I'm kind of tired of our building sitting vacant for the last couple of months, and how can we open it up in a responsible way to care for our young people? And so here we are. And I have to say, I'm a little inspired actually as a community person, because when I asked the question, what should we do? The community came together. And people like you showed up, and you have a deep investment into our kids. And so here we are to make an investment on young scholars, to make sure that they start strong on August 31st, and that they can have access to quality education, and they can have access to a safe spot to learn and be supported. And so I'm honored as one of the many places who will open up our building in a safe way and making sure that our young students can do. John Wesley, who was one of the founders of the Methodist movement, said that the world is our parish. And so I consider myself not just the pastor of this church, but I consider myself as a faith leader to our entire community. So I'm glad to be here on behalf of all of us here today. And so thank you for being key leaders in our education in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Sledge. So our host sites will follow strict CDC guidelines. Masks are mandatory and must be a child-ready facility. Child-ready facility means that the site is already set up to serve children. For example, it has conducted Sunday school or summer camps in the recent past. We want the safest sites for our youngest students, and we will limit the number per community classroom. A great example of a child-ready facility is the Jewish Community Center and Whitaker Center. I want to thank the Executive Director, Jennifer Ross, who's standing behind me, for stepping up and offering their very large, beautiful space, as well as Mr. Ted Black, Executive Director for Whitaker Center. He's here to say a few words.
Thank you, Patty. There's a couple rules of public speaking. One, don't work with dogs or animals or children, and the other is don't follow really good public speakers like the men of faith and Patty. But I'll do my best. First thing I want to do is I want to recognize and thank Patty Kim for her inspirational leadership during this crisis. The Community Classroom Project really is a master class of what public service means and of what leadership we need from public officials right now. As kids head back to school during the pandemic, the greatest threat to their education really is the belief that somebody else is going to solve the problem. As a community, we have the collective resources to help these kids. And standing before you in a house of worship here, it seems appropriate to quote scripture. Don't worry, Pastor, your job is very much safe. Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 says, "Ask and you shall receive." There are so many that are asking right now. And there's another passage from Luke that really fits the other side of that equation. I don't know the chapter and verse, so see, your job is very much safe. But anyway, it reads, "Give, and you shall receive." And really that's what leadership is. It's the process of inspiring those who can give and connecting them with those who are asking. And that's exactly what Representative Kim is doing by creating these community classrooms. She's inspired so many of us to give to so many that have the need. So why is Whitaker Center here? Well, for 21 years, Whitaker Center has stood as the region's crown jewel. It was founded with the belief that education, the arts, and scientific discovery are critical to our region's future. And that's exactly why we're here, and that's exactly why we answered Representative Kim's call to action. Our mission statement, our reason for existence, is to serve as the center for scientific, artistic, cultural, and educational activities to enhance the region's quality of life. You can't have a mission statement like that and wait for somebody else to solve this problem. As Representative Kim said, I also really want to take some time and stress the safety protocols that we have in place at Whitaker Center. Back in June, we actually hired a leading architectural design firm, Crabtree Rohrbaugh, to overlay the Pennsylvania Department of Education safety guidelines and the CDC guidelines and advise us on how we can keep kids safe. Last week, we completed our summer camp program. Those camp safety protocols that worked out very well included temperature checks for the staff and the kids, masks, separate bathrooms for different groups to minimize cross-contamination, vigorous hand washing, we all know what that is, and lots of cleaning and Clorox wipe downs. Whitaker Center is proud to be one of Representative Kim's community classrooms. We're fortunate to have an inspirational leader like Representative Kim who can match those who can give with those who are asking. And Whitaker Center is committed to providing kids with a safe environment. And finally, on behalf of Whitaker Center, we'd just like to urge others to consider participating in the Community Classroom Project, because when you give, you shall receive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Also here is Mr. Sangor Mans, the CEO and President of the Harrisburg Housing Authority, along with his great team. He is helping us to set up outdoor tents at 3 of the locations for the residents: Hall Manor, Covert Homes, and William Howard Day. Thank you, Mr. Mans, for your partnership. We appreciate you. All community classrooms will be from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., Monday through Friday. We will be leaning on volunteers to staff the classrooms. All volunteers will be vetted in advance and must have clearances to work with the children. I will only approve volunteers that I would feel comfortable around my own children. We are aware that this program will not help every family's needs. I feel badly about that. But when you're depending on volunteers, we need to start small and build out. I'd like to acknowledge school board directors Jane Bucklock, Stephen Williams behind me. Thank you so much for your support. For the students, I'd like to bring up the Harrisburg School District leadership. During this difficult time, we need to be flexible, creative, and supportive. So we appreciate Dr. Janet Samuels and Mr. Chris Selmer for partnering with us.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. Prior to the pandemic, most parents worked outside of their homes. Research shows that at least 3 in 4 mothers, worked outside of their homes. In fact, 75%, and I'll repeat that, 75% of all working mothers work outside of their home. That is quite significant. We know that in spite of the pandemic, many parents do not have the luxury of remaining at home or working from home and are adversely impacted and affected on a daily basis. As we approach the new school year, like many school districts across the country and in Pennsylvania, based on the review of data and making safety a priority, the Harrisburg School District will open online, which unfortunately may create difficulty for many working parents. During this unprecedented time, it is critical that all students are engaged in instruction as we fight the achievement gaps. During this unprecedented time, it is critical that students are engaged in safe, well-structured programs. That is why it is a pleasure to recognize and salute Representative Patty Kim, who has joined forces with several partners here to create community schools. This incredible initiative will allow parents who need it most to have supports to enable their children to participate in instructional activities in a safe and structured environment. We know that a range of activities, even the most basic activities, such as reading aloud each day to another person, children reading, engaging in literacy, is something that will enhance their growth, and we know it will ultimately have a huge impact for children. So imagine the opportunity to come together in a structured environment, what amazing impact that will ultimately have. We encourage families to take advantage of this opportunity. Take advantage. We want all families to take advantage. And once again, it is a pleasure to thank you, Representative Kim. This is a huge endeavor. This is one of those bold and courageous endeavors, and we are so grateful for that. And to all of the community partners who have already signed on, and to those who will step up and join in, what a difference this will make for all children and families. What a great and tangible way to show parents and families that they are loved, that they're cared about, and that they matter. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mr. Silver and Dr. Samuels. Did you want to speak?
Just one.
Sure, I don't apologize.
No, that's fine. Good morning. I too want to thank Representative Kim for her unwavering support. Several weeks ago, Dr. Samuels and I, after we met with our board and we reviewed what was going to be the recommended decision to start 100% virtually, it was a very difficult decision, but following our meeting with our school board, we reached out to Representative Kim and we shared the news with her. And I think there was a little bit of pause, a little bit of shock, but the health data had to drive the decision making. And once we went through our rationale and we explained what went into making this most difficult decision, Representative Kim immediately sprung into action. And that's why we're here today. So I too thank you for your open-mindedness to what we were working with, trying to work through the pandemic and do what is first and foremost safe for all the students in the Harrisburg School District. So thank you. We can't do this alone as a school district, and we look forward to all our partnerships and partnering under the leadership of Representative Kim. I want to be clear that we believe our students need to be in school. And it's just so unfortunate that this pandemic has continued to escalate. The most recent numbers demonstrate that, and we're far from out of the woods, so to speak, with this unfortunate situation. But ultimately, we believe our students need to be in school. That's why when we laid out our plan, we did not put a line in the sand, so to speak, about when our students would return. We're going to continue to evaluate current health data. We meet with health professionals on a weekly basis to look at what's happening within the city of Harrisburg. And we're going to continue, and we're committed to that process as we move forward. Our ground game as a team needs to be strong. And what I mean by our ground game is the support we have here today with all our community partners, but also the school district itself. We need to account for each and every student as we begin the new school year. We need to reach out, and we can do that in a safe and efficient manner, and it's going to take a partnership such as this, among other partnerships, to be able to do that effectively. But we need to ensure that we find and connect with every student in the Harrisburg School District, all 6,600 of them, because this year is much different than last. Last year was a planned enrichment model. The pandemic occurred, we had to stop operations, and we had to react. What we're starting the school year under is a planned instruction model. There's going to be schedules for our students. They're going to have to sign on at certain times. They're going to learn both synchronously, asynchronously throughout this pandemic. Much different than what our process was to start when the pandemic started a few months ago. So again, I just want to say thank you, and I just want to reiterate our commitment to the community that we are going to support our students and families with every resource that we have available. We are going to think outside the box. We're going to continue to be fluid as an organization, and we're going to work together, and we're going to do what's right for all the children and all the families of the Harrisburg School District. So thank you very much.
All right, as we end today, for the community, if you want to sign up your student, if you want to be a volunteer, if you want to be a host site for the Community Classrooms Project, please go to communityclassrooms.org. Thanks to Chad Fry with the Greater Capital Region STEAM Ecosystem. It's a simple website to navigate, and you'll find it easy to sign up. Again, communityclassrooms.org. Parents, use this site to sign up your child. I ask myself all the time, when I look back at this historic pandemic, what did I do to help my neighbor? How did I step up during this crisis? We have seen amazing heroes like our healthcare workers, frontline workers, essential workers, and teachers. I think this is our opportunity to be a hero too. I encourage you to sign up to be a volunteer or host at a safe site. It will make a huge difference in some of our youngest students. Thank you very much.